All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this kicked off. Good morning to everybody that's had a chance to join the webinar this morning. We sure do appreciate you joining. My name is Trevor Froehling. I'm with CommonGround Insurance Group, and I'm very happy to take some time this morning and introduce you guys to Cash Lease Insurance Protection. And for the good of all of us, I am going to refer to it by the acronym CLIP as we go through this to save me a lot of words and you guys having to listen to them. So essentially what I'm going to do this morning is I'll take us through a presentation. Some of you may have already seen this beginning presentation of exactly how CLIP works, what it is, what it does, when it would pay. What I'm going to do at the very end of this presentation is I'm going to go through live quoting that's actually live this morning. So if a person wanted to buy this, lock it in today, you can see exactly what it would cost today, what the guarantees would be, what it would take to get your money back out of the policy, and exactly where you would be on it. It may take 30 to 40 minutes this morning, but I'm going to try to get through it as quickly and efficiently as possible and make it easy to explain for everybody that's here listening. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So to begin, what is CLIP? Where does it come from? So CLIP is a non-federally reinsured supplemental product created by Hudson Crop, and that's a wordy way of saying this product is a supplemental product, right, that is not subsidied. So there is no federal subsidy on this crop insurance. It's a private product through Hudson Crop. Any Hudson agent has the ability to sell it. So anybody can buy this. There just isn't a subsidy on it. The CLIP, it allows a producer to elect bands of coverage to lock in a market price. So it's a banded coverage. It has a bottom and top price. The max deductible on this policy is 95%. So the best deductible you could have on this is a 5% coverage, essentially. So it has a guarantee outside of federal crop insurance. So this has no reflection on your RP coverage at all. So you have your government-based crop insurance, RP, county coverage. This can pay and it won't affect any of those payouts whatsoever. It's totally price-based with no yield calculators factored in. So it doesn't take, yield times price to get a guarantee. You're totally betting on a price decline in order to get a payment, or it's a good hedge. If prices do go higher, it's a good thing because we can sell that crop for a higher price. So this can be purchased or quoted daily from 8:45 in the morning to noon Central Time. So we are right in the window this morning where a person could lock this in and buy it. And that's quoted every day that the markets are open. So CLIP availability. So this product is available in all the states, pretty much in the Midwest. There are some exceptions. It's a private product. So if somebody outside these states wanted to buy it, I could make a case for somebody. These are the main states that it started in right now. But if somebody was outside of these states, we could, go to the insurance company and say, hey, we have a person in Texas, for example, that would really like to buy this. Would you make an exception for them? And they may do that. So CLIP, it provides coverage for a loss of revenue for any acres that are cash rented with a valid lease agreement. So the key to this, there does have to be a valid lease agreement. The liability that is on the policy, the max you can get paid out per acre, has to be based off of a valid lease agreement. So that's the key to it. If your lease is for $200 an acre, you couldn't get $300 of liability coverage on this. It maxes out at the liability limit maxes out at what your cash rent is. So you can't buy a liability limit higher than your total cash rent, but what you can do is you can have multiple price guarantee options, which basically means is, for me, for example, if I have a $200 an acre rent, I can do $50 an acre at one price, and then 2 weeks later, I can do $50 an acre at another price. You just can't go beyond the liability limit of what your rent is on a farm, but you can do this on a per farm basis, and you can lock it in all the way up to $200 as many times as you want to do it. So some key dates for CLIP, Cash Lease Insurance Protection. So the sales closing on this is July 31st for the 2024 reinsurance year. After the 31st, a person could buy this for the 2025 crop if you so wanted to. The farther out we go, the cheaper it gets. So right now it's cheaper than it's ever been. The later we get into July, it'll get cheaper. And then as it resets to August, it'll get more expensive because there's a longer time frame of coverage liability for the insurance company. So as I said before, the sales window on this is 8:30 to noon every day. You can quote this daily when the markets are open. Premium is due November 1st. So this product is a supplemental private product. The premium is due November 1st. Indemnity would also be paid that first week in November. So at the end of October, all of these products are based on fall price, the average in October of December corn futures and November bean futures. Whatever that average is in October, we're going to know what your indemnity is at the end of the month because you have a locked in price and what your guarantee is. You should have a check coming out from Hudson if there's an indemnity within 1 week of November. So it's very likely if you bought this and there was a price decline, you would never see a bill because it would come right out of your indemnity and you would just get the difference. So what are some policy advantages of CLIP? So it allows for trigger coverage levels from 95 to 90%. So you can play with the deductible on this a little bit as you want to. Obviously, a lower deductible, if you got up to 95%, it'll be more expensive. You back it off to 90%, it gets cheaper. The wider the band, the cheaper it gets. The tighter the band, the more expensive because you have a more easier opportunity to get a return on your investment. So it provides floor coverage down to 80%. So the bottom of your coverage band, the bottom of that's going to be 80% of the price that you elect. So for example, just for easy math for me, I know we're not around $5 today. If you picked a 95-80 policy, which would mean your trigger would be 95% and the bottom of your band would be 80% at $5. Your trigger of 95% of $5 would be $4.75. The bottom of the band, 80% of $5 is $4. So at $4, whatever liability limit you picked, you would get max payout on your payout per acre based on those December corn and November bean contracts. So the widest the band can be is 15%. That's the widest the band can be. The tightest the band can be would be a 95-90 policy, 93-90, 95 down to 90. The 90 is the lowest on the bottom of that coverage. It gets more expensive, and 95 is the highest on the trigger. So losses do begin paying as soon as the harvest price drops below the trigger. There is no yield component to this whatsoever. It's totally price-based. It allows for liability payments larger than the actual revenue with a higher band coverage. So essentially what that means is you can get up to the max of your liability payment larger than what the actual revenue would be if there was a loss. So cash lease calculations. So how do we determine, how this policy is going to be set up? So the first thing we do is, okay, what is your cash rental agreement? How much is it covered for? What is your share of that lease and how many acres? So we have the total liability limit would be your lease, what your share is, time your number of acres. Spring price is not applicable to this product. Liability is based on the elected coverage, acres, and share. So whatever your spring price was on your insurance, this year for corn, it was $4.66. On soybeans, it was $11.55. Those numbers have no bearing on this whatsoever. If you picked a higher number, lower number, this product, it stands alone. So you'd have to determine your band of coverage that the insured wishes to utilize. So as we talked about, a smaller band equals higher cost. Higher trigger equals a higher cost. We can play with these numbers in the quoter and you can see exactly how much you want to commit to this and how much you want to see come back. And that's essentially what a person has to decide when quoting this and go through it, is exactly how much they want to do. So once the harvest price is determined, the calculation is used to determine the indemnity. Premium is based on liability and amount of time until October. So the farther into July we go, the later we get, the cheaper the product's going to get. Obviously, going into the fall, going into the average of October, the later we go into the season, it's going to get cheaper. So that kind of plays into itself. So why should a person consider CLIP? Well, CLIP was created to be an easy way to lock in higher prices. So essentially, a person could do the same thing through a broker. We think that this product is a simpler version of that product. There is no money up front. You don't have to pay for this until the end of the year when you have the crop in. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of this. In an environment of volatile markets, CLIP allows farmers to take advantage. They're created by factors that make it hard to sell a crop. So for me, for example, 3 weeks ago, we had a high around 496 on December corn futures. We did have people locking in those numbers. They didn't know. A lot of them didn't even have the acres planted in the ground yet, but they knew that, okay, at 490, 480 on the board, that's going to be a really good number for us if there is another really good crop, if good to excellent conditions are rated high throughout the summer. That might be the best time to lock in a higher number. Can't commit to selling a lot of the crop because we don't know if we're going to have it, but we can lock in CLIP and then, protect that guarantee. So with high return on investment expectations from landowners, CLIP gives the farmer a tool against defaulting on cash rent payments. So I would say for me, we work at CommonGround, we work with some people that they had to go out and pay, top dollar to rent a new farm. So what they do is they take a tool like this with a higher cash rent. RP, is working with 85% on the high end to lock in yield times price. With a lot of these higher rents, especially when the rents were set, in the last 2 years, when commodity prices were a lot better, this gives them a tool to fight back against that higher rent and being able to get through these tougher years on price. So in 2024, our federal crop guarantee is $200 an acre less than in 2023. Our guarantee in 22 and 23 was $5.90 and $5.91 respectively. So this spring on corn, we're sitting at $4.66. That essentially equates to a $200 an acre less guarantee per acre for everyone on their RP policies. So we're dealing with a lot less guarantee, a lot less protection on this crop. So even at the levels today, we're sitting around 440 on December corn futures this morning. RP, at trend line yield is nowhere near a payment today. And we all know, 440 on the board, we're talking $4 cash in a lot of places, sub $4, depending on what your market is. So it's really hard to make that math stick. But with CLIP, all we care about is that board price in October. So here's a great example of when CLIP would have been extremely relevant. So this is a newer product. This product ran out in August of last year. So it's not even a year old yet. A big reason this product was developed and created was because of what happened last summer. So last summer, we had a month, no rain around me. I mean, my corn just down the road from me, it looked about as tough as it ever has. Reminded me a lot of 2012. Had the agronomist come out, that's crop insurance corn. Trevor drove throughout the whole county. It all looks tough. Corn soared to a high of 627 in late June last summer. I personally could not sell any of a crop at that level, not knowing what I was going to have, not knowing if it was even going to shoot in a year. Obviously, starting 4th of July weekend, started to rain, and it didn't stop raining for the whole month. Prices reflected that, and we settled at the end of the year at a fall price of $4.88. Now, I ended up selling a lot of my grain a lot closer to that $4.50, $4.80 range than I did at $6. But if a person had CLIP last summer, had the ability to lock in the higher price without selling the grain, a 95/80 policy on CLIP, which is the widest band, lowest band coverage to keep the premium the cheapest, would have maxed out between June 12th and July 4th of last year. So a person, if they locked it in, bought CLIP, they would have got max liability, whatever limit was, whether your cash rent is $300 an acre or $400 an acre, it would have maxed out. So essentially, that is why CLIP was created. It's a hedge without committing any of that grain. And last summer was an example of a year a person needed a tool like CLIP. So why could clip make sense this summer? You know, going into a downtick in prices of about 50 cents here in the last 3 weeks, where could clip make sense still this summer? So the 2 prior years, we've had a guarantee of 590, 591. Our spring guarantee is 466. For the lower the spring price, the better the clip could potentially look as we try to create a higher guarantee for ourselves. Could another great crop lead to $4 corn this fall? It's kind of looking that way. Not sure where the bump's going to come in this late in the summer, but if it does happen, a rally this summer with a weather event, if there was, you know, some bad event somewhere that knocked out a lot of it, it could give us an opportunity to lock in a higher price, sell some grain ahead, look at a clip potentially to protect that guarantee that we could lose going in the fall. So that's how it could make sense. So when will clip pay and federal crop not? So I really like this slide because it shows essentially an RP policy, a guy that buys 85% optional units compared to a person that buys clip. Let's see how it maths out. So a grower has a 200 APH and he buys 85% RP per field, optional units, and he locked in a $4.66 guarantee on his corn this spring. Well, he has 170 bushel trigger yield at 466. That's a guarantee of $792 an acre on each field. Using clip this summer, a producer, we're sitting at 440 today. It's down 50 cents in 3 weeks. Could we see a 30-cent bump somewhere in the next 3-4 weeks? It's possible. A producer could lock in 470 on the board with clip, get a 95% trigger on that policy, and an 85% floor. We go into the fall, we have another trend line yield with a big carry. We have a $4 harvest price in October for the average of corn futures. Clip would pay full indemnity of whatever liability limit a producer locked in. So for example, $100 of rent, a person locked in 470, 85% of 470 is $4. Clip would pay 100% indemnity, pay $100. The producer that produced right at his APH, he had 200 bushel corn. If he had a $4 fall price on his crop insurance with that 466 guarantee, his revenue per farm is $800, and RP would pay nothing for an RP policy that probably cost that producer $35 to $40, depending on the county. So you spent $35 to $40 an acre, didn't get anything back at 200 bushel with a 66-cent price drop. With the clip, we're sitting around probably $26, $27 for that same policy. It would have paid full indemnity. So just something to consider is exactly how the math of these works. And you can play with the numbers and see what makes the most sense for everyone's individual operation. I can sit down with anyone in here and say, hey, I want to go through my individual numbers, look at what makes the most sense for me, because everyone's going to have a different number, but depending on what your APH is per farm, which is what's nice about clip, is we can do this on a per farm basis. It doesn't have to be a whole operation like an RP policy does. You can buy this on a per field basis, and you can do it on percentages as you go. Okay, we've reached the point where I'm going to take you guys to the live quoting demo. So we're going to get in here and we're going to see exactly what this costs. All right, we'll get over to our estimator and let's see exactly how the math of this looks today, right? So we're using the price from yesterday's close. For this example, I'm going to go to my home county. I'm particular to myself. And let's do $250 an acre lease on 100 acres, $25,000 lease cost. So we got Illinois, Iroquois County, $250 is my cash rent per acre, 100 acres, 100% share of that crop. My total lease cost is $25,000. The available coverage per acre, my max liability would be $250. My screen here, pick my grower, move the box around. Let's look up Trevor Froehling. Click on that. Now I'm in. Let's put this. Yeah, there. That's better. Okay. So we got Trevor Froehling quote for December corn futures, November bean futures. Yesterday's locked in guarantee, 443 be the price today. My elected coverage, I'm going to say, okay, I want $100 an acre back in my rent if there's a price decline. Well, let's see exactly how that would look. So 95% trigger of the 443 price would be $4.21. So if the fall price in October is below 421, it starts to pay me money back. The bottom coverage price, I'm going to select 80% to keep it as cheap as possible. So the bottom coverage price would be $3.54. So if the fall price was $3.54, I would collect $100 an acre indemnity back. Anything below $3.54 doesn't matter. I've maxed out liability. So let's see what that would look like. And then just to run another quote on beans, I'm going to do the exact same thing. 95%. Let's do another $100 an acre. 80% on the bottom of the trigger. Let's see. $100 here. 95%. Oh boy. Let's see if it'll work. Yeah. That's an issue I've been having. All right. I wonder if I could just do this. It's going to make me redo it, I think. This quoter is a lot of fun because when you miss a step, it makes me redo the whole thing. That's great. All right, let's cancel this, get out, and I gotta go back in. All right, good old clip estimates. You gotta love when technology works and doesn't work. All right, here. I'm gonna go through and re-enter all the stuff I just did, basically. So 250 leased acres, 100 acres, lease cost there. Re-put the grower in, gotta put my name in again. Find myself. All right, elected coverage. Make sure I do it right this time. Can't miss a step. 95%, 80% on the bottom. I'm gonna do the same thing here. So 1055 is 95% of 1111. 80% of 1111 is 889. So that'd be the lowest on that band would be when I would get all my money back. So now let's try get rates and premium. We should be able to get some rates now. Okay, there we go. So on this product on Clip, if you wanted 95% coverage of the trigger, it'd be a premium per acre of $23.55. On the soybean side, it would be $15.70, essentially, for that product. So that's the live quotes of what it would be. We can play with the numbers a little bit on the math of this. Essentially, what I like to look at is return on investment. So at what point am I in the green? So, for example, on the corn, if a person bought this today at 443, their trigger would be 95%. Well, the policy costs $24. Between 95 and 80%, it's paying you back for every penny underneath, but it's not max liability. So what's that number? So an easy way to figure that out will be to take 421, subtract it from 354 on the bottom. We have 67 cents in our band. There's a $100 liability limit, right? So we take $100 divided by 67 cents. For every penny below 421 on the fall price, we get $1.50 in payment per acre. So if the price was $4.20 in the fall, this policy would pay $1.50 an acre. To find out what our break even is, we got to find out, okay, at $24, how many pennies below is my break even? So essentially $24 an acre in premium divided by $1.50 per penny is 16 pennies. So you take $4.21, take 16 cents away is $4.05. At $4.05, you're in the green, you're positive on the policy. It would pay on another $76. So at $3.54, you'd be net $76. Every penny below $4.05, you would be in the green, $1.50 a penny. So if the fall price was, let's say, $3.90, well, there'd be 15 pennies below 405. Take that times $1.50. You'd be net $22.50 on your indemnity payment in the fall with this policy. So at 443, 95.80, if the price was $3.90 in the fall, it's 15 pennies below your break even. You're getting $1.50 per penny. So it would be essentially $22.50 an acre payment. But yeah, that's essentially how the math of this product works in the quoting. If anybody has any questions on how it works or wants to go through particular instances of how the math on these policies work, please reach out to me. I'd love to, go through the individual numbers with you and show you how it works. I'm going to go back now. If there's any questions, put them in the chat. I'm a quoter. We can do an individual county if somebody wants. Look at, some, possible future opportunities for this. So Caitlin, I think you're listening. Are there any questions at the moment for looking at additional quotes?
Nope, no additional questions.
There are no questions. Okay, well, I sure do appreciate everybody that attended today. I'm going to go back to this. Hudson likes when I show the legal. This is underwritten by Hudson Crop. Hudson Insurance Company, CommonGround Insurance Group are equal opportunity providers and employers. If you guys want to connect with me, this is the best way to do it. This is my cell phone. My cell phone is here, and this is my email. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd love to sit down with anybody that wanted to look at the math of this and how it would best benefit your farm, your operation. We could sit down, go through the numbers and see what would make the most sense. But thank you guys for attending the webinar this morning. I really enjoyed it and going through and looking at the math of it. I'm on here pretty much every day. So if you got any questions, please reach out. Thank you and have a great week.